Hi, this is Gary Dranow from parts of Utah and the Gary Dranow Show, proudly broadcasting to you from Radio Evolve Rocks in Santa Barbara, California. Listen more and evolve. Hey, this is Gary Dranow from All Things Music, Gary Dranow and the Gary Dranow Show. Today's guests are Robbie and Joey that make up the Jive. I'm excited to welcome them. They are a Radio Alliance Top 100 #1 band with song I Should Have Known.
No, should have known better.
Should have known better. Yeah, should have known better. Guys, introduce yourself. Robbie, tell me about you and your childhood. Joey, tell me about you and your childhood. And then we'll take it from the youths up to what you're doing today in a while.
All right. Would you like to take the lead there, Joey?
Sure. I'm Joey. Good to meet you, Gary. Good to meet everybody listening.
Joey Edwards, right? Joey Edwards.
Joey Edwards. That is correct. I grew up in the Springfield area of Delaware County, PA. It's a West Philly suburb. Went to Springfield High School, graduated. In that time,
You actually graduated?
I actually graduated. Can you believe it? A little bit
I believe it. I
off-brand
believe it, man.
You could say, but no, graduated, did a couple years of college in that time, took interest in, starting bands, learning how to write songs, the usual.
You're my best friend. I forgot you went to college.
For a little bit.
So tell me about your band history.
Well, I used to play in a couple more technical progressive rock bands back in the day. I actually started on keyboard. I'm more of a piano player than a guitar player. And most of my knowledge of music theory comes from, all the piano lessons I took. I grew up very middle class, so my parents put me through a lot of formal music lessons and training and I've also done choir. I was in the Philadelphia Boys Choir, believe it or not.
My God, that's fantastic.
Yes.
And what were you, a tenor, baritone? What was your range?
Well, I mean, I was in it as a boy, so I sang
soprano.
I think it was middle soprano. Yes, and they kicked me out when when my voice dropped. So,
okay, those bastards. How could they do that?
Well, you can join the men's division. There's a boys section and a men's section, which is a little smaller. But I opted not to stick with it because there were other things on the horizon. So, but that was a fun experience, and I learned a lot about music theory. I developed my ear for harmonies, melodies, all that good stuff. All this stuff that is too sophisticated for rock and roll. But I play rock and roll anyway.
Hey, look, if you told me you went to Berkeley, I'd believe it with your what you're talking about. But theory, your circle of fifths, keys and modes and all that crap. And were you able to take it from the keyboard to the guitar?
I mean, it was a pretty easy process. Sometimes it's to my detriment because, I sometimes envy people who don't have the ear that I do because I suspect they hear things in more alien ways. And me, it makes it difficult for me to experiment sometimes because I can break down everything to a mathematical equation. Sometimes I wish I couldn't, but it is what it is.
Well, I got to tell you, when I got started in music, it was the math component that I needed to use to figure out my intervals and scales and everything, because I literally couldn't hear crap. So,
right.
So you're actually fortunate. Do you have perfect pitch or near it?
Pretty near. I know people who have, or I have known people in the past who have way better pitch than I do. and it scares me sometimes. But to most people, or most people would say I have perfect pitch based on how I can pick apart notes in a chord and in a
So
song.
you could sing me an A440 right now, huh?
440. I'm not sure what 440 means, but I can sing
That's
you a.
concert. That's concert A.
So
So your A
if,
string
if
in
concert
standard
C is
tuning.
if concert C is then concert A would be roughly that.
Up, 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 up. No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
Mm,
I think you're right. I'd have to whip my
I'm doing it
guitar
really
out.
low. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to pick out my guitar and play my open A string to see if you're right, but I suspect you're close. So uh, were you in high school, in bands in high school?
Um, for not bands that played out. It wasn't really until I got to my college years where I started, playing and gigging bands. Uh, and really the two main ones were the progressive rock group that I started with some people I met in New Jersey,
I
and the
don't know
other
if you're
one.
gonna. I don't know if you're gonna know this, but my partner in Australia is the lead guitar player for 𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗁𝘂𝗱𝗲, which is a
Oh, for
heavy
real?
duty progressive rock group. Um, the number one progressive rock group out of Australia, 𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗁𝘂𝗱𝗲. So if you don't know of them, look it up. My partner's name is Chris 𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵, and just an amazing freaking guitar player. He's insane, is how good he is. But and I always wish it would rub off on me, but it never does. So keep going. You got me interested.
And the other one was a little bit more short-lived, but it was more of a, I guess you could call it a cross between a post-hardcore and an indie rock band. Maybe did a couple gigs tops in the city, but it didn't really go much of anywhere. I think the other members split off and formed other projects uh, with each other, but I didn't really get involved after that.
Probably for the best.
I mean, if you say so. There are plenty of bands in that style that I love, but the Philadelphia scene is kind of oversaturated with that, and we don't really fit that so much with what we're doing with the Jive. But
No.
that, I mean, I like that about what we're doing. It's different from what I've done in the past.
Gotcha. What is your main guitar? Well, let's start with what your first guitar was.
It was a standard Mexican Telly. I still have it, but I think I gotta revisit it. It probably needs a setup. I haven't touched it in a while.
I'll tell you, the Mexican Fenders are not terrible.
No.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah, no,
you can get a good Strat or a good Telly for $800-900, and you probably need to change out the pickups. But other than that, the necks are true and they sound pretty good. So that Telly probably served you well to begin with.
oh, absolutely. I love the weight of it. For somebody my size, a lot of people would say it's too heavy for, around their shoulder to play. But for me, I like it that way. It gives it a lot of grit.
What is it?
It
What does it
really,
weigh?
it really, I never really weighed it, but it's uh,
7 pounds, 8 pounds.
It's a heavier guitar.
definitely more than that. It's, it definitely encourages me though to dig in though. So
Uh-huh.
I like that
Okay.
about it.
All right. So what are you playing now?
My go-to now is what is it? It's the custom
Is it the
Strat.
Joe Queer guitar?
It's the Joe Queer guitar, yes.
Okay, yeah. So that's the MJT body, 75 Fender neck, hardtail body, sorry. MJT hardtail body. It's like a sparkle pelham blue with bare knuckle pickups.
Yeah,
Sounds cool.
and no pickup switch because he always likes to take all the switches
Play
out of
on the
his instrument.
bridge or play on the
It's all
neck.
it's all bridge,
It's all
and
bridge.
Yeah.
and you can't even switch it because that's how he likes his instruments. And then he sold it to me that way.
And
For a
who is
pretty
this
good.
again?
Joe Queer or
Joe
Joe
Queer.
King.
Joe
Yeah.
Queer.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, and does he build guitars, or is
No,
this
no, he's a
a
singer.
signature model for Fender?
No, no, it's just more. He he technically builds them, but he's not like a luthier or anything. He makes them. There's parts that are made, custom parts, and he'll put them together. He's actually, the singer guitarist of a punk band called the Queers, another band that I play in, separate from the Jive.
You're two-timing Joey, are you?
Well, not in a way that I mind because, I see it as being good for both of us in the long run, hopefully.
Oh yeah.
He's you know, he's the perfect fit for, what they do, their sound. I've enjoyed um seeing him play with them before. They're great.
Right. And
Yeah. And we play all over, so I get the word out.
got
For
it.
sure.
So one thing helps the other. Um,
Correct.
uh, Joey, do you sing too?
Oh, absolutely. I On this last EP, I did all the background vocals. Um, I'm good
Multi-tracked
at
or
multi-tracked a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I'm very good at arranging harmony. We may, for the next record, end up adding a third voice. Who knows? And if
and a
so,
horn section?
again, I'll put a who knows on that. We both play. I play brass. Rob plays reed stuff.
Saxophone.
So you never know. Lay a simple horn part down, we could execute that. But I happen to be very good with 3-part, 4-part, God knows how many part harmonies in,
So the
due to
Beast
my
Boys
choir
got
days.
nothing. The Beast Boys got nothing on you.
It's exactly, well, rest in peace, Brian. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm taking it to the next level over here. You never
Okay.
know.
All right. Let's. We know enough about you, Joey. Let's shut you up for a minute and get let's get Robbie talking a little bit. So
It's a
Robbie,
cool guy. So,
well, I think you're both cool. That Cheap Trick shirt is really cool, and don't let me forget to ask you where you got it. Um, so Robbie, tell me about your childhood and how you got introduced to music and all that stuff.
So, funnily enough, I'm pretty much like, I guess the yang to his yin, to whereas he knows like all music theory and choir and stuff like that. I never went through any of that. I was much more of a guy that just kind of fell in love with music um, from a very base point of view. I didn't know anything, and I still don't know the amount that I should. Like when it comes to theory and stuff like that, I just sit down and write songs. I don't overthink it at all. I don't know if the chords I play with match or anything like that. But whatever sounds cool, whatever sounds like it can make a good song, I have a pretty good ear for that. Um, Childhood, yeah, I was brought up in Pennsauken, New Jersey, up until my high school years.
Funny, you
You know,
don't have a New Jersey accent.
no, I was born in Philadelphia, and I was brought up in Pennsauken, New Jersey, but I was brought up around, by my grandparents. My granddad is actually from Arkansas, so I got a little bit of that going on the way that I speak. Every now and then you'll hear it slip in, and it'll catch someone off guard. But yeah, so I grew up there. I moved to the suburbs of New Jersey because that wasn't really suburbs. That was very like a cultural melting pot, I'll say, Pennsauken. I moved to the suburbs of New Jersey, which was a little more like, I guess, streamlined in a way, culture-wise, during my high school years. And I'm just your average contrarian a lot of the time. Like I don't like a lot of the stuff I hear on radio today. I don't like a lot of the messages that are being, portrayed or any of that.
All
Like I
right, well
don't.
then don't listen to my music, okay?
I just mean like today, you know, you have there's a child star. Obviously, I won't mention names. There's a former child star who's now a musician, but they don't sell her based on her musicianship. They sell her based on her sex appeal. And that's just something that I don't agree with because who's listening to her? It's children. So it's one of those things where it's just like I see the bad parts of the industry and I try to separate myself from it entirely. And like I said, I'm just your everyday contrarian where it's like, you know, there's thoughts that I have towards the industry that stop me from being a part of it.
Well, let's hope it doesn't keep you out of it. Your dad introduced you to hair bands when you were 5 or 6 years old, I believe,
Yes.
and your mom introduced you to R&B songs about the same time, which you did not know were sex-based topics.
No, no idea. You know, my mom was listening to stuff like, you know, Jagged Edge and like Usher and Neo and all this kind of stuff. And I had no clue what the songs were. I just knew every word and I knew that I enjoyed the melodies and how they went. And my dad, like you said, you know, introduced me to the hair band. So it was like, it was one of those things where it felt really raw and it was like, you know, it was just the shredding of the guitars. Obviously, as a kid, that was just something where like, I'm watching it and I'm like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do when I grow up. And then as I grown up, I've, you know, you got bands coming out, you know, again, not saying band names because I know better, but there's a band out there now that, you know, is touring the world and doing their thing and they're laughing at themselves. And, you know, their whole thing is we're going to make fun of the 80s hair metal scene, but in a serious way, serious to our music. And they're doing great. It's awesome. But as I've grown up, I've gotten so far away from it because Joey and I were involved in a band where, you know, the focus went from, you know, who's writing the best songs to whose pants are tighter or who has the shiniest shirt on or, you know, dumb shit like that that doesn't matter.
All right, again, don't watch my show tonight, okay? We're going to have to take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back with Joey and Robbie. We're back with the Jive, Robbie and Joey. And Let me ask you guys both a question. Joey, you're a guitar player. Tell me what your five, if you could get any guitar you wanted, what are the five guitars you sell your soul for?
Oh, geez. This is not a question I usually think about because I'm not much of a guitar nerd. They'd probably be all in their Fender, though. I'll tell you that. I mean, um, it would, I mean, maybe a custom Telecaster as opposed to the standard that I have right now.
Like a custom shop or a custom with a humbucker?
Throwing a humbucker on it would probably be the move for me just to give it some contrast. Um, so that would be one.
No particular year.
Well, either 60s or 70s. I like it to be vintage, usually.
Oh, well, now you're talking. You won't find a vintage Telly, not too many with a humbucker on the bridge, but I mean on the neck.
Right.
But you could certainly get them from the custom shop that way, designed after any year. But next guitar.
All right, so there's one down. What else do we have under Fender? Probably just to knock off another from the list. Give me or you know what? I really like Jazz Masters. A lot of people don't seem to care for those much. It's a particular side of the music scene that likes them, but I think they have the shoegaze.
Didn't Cobain play a Jazz Master?
Jagstang, I think.
At some point, like maybe approaching the in utero days, but yeah, taking a Jazz Master and also fixing it with
just to make you salivate. I've got a '59 Jazz Master with an anodized aluminum pickguard. So I've got you covered there. Just let me know when you got 30, 40 grand laying around and I'll sell it to you.
Yeah, at some point I will. And fit that sucker with what you said, or either just a humbucker, or maybe you throw a P90 on that sucker. You never know.
P90.
Well, they got P90s on them, so.
Well, I mean that's my budget choice then. I'll have to tap out after that because this is not a question I think about much. Like I said, I don't think about Gibson. If I was to get a Gibson, it would just probably be a standard SG, but that's not a dream guitar,
right?
Well, it's good enough for Angus, right?
Right. But I would, I would want it in a color other than cherry red. Yeah. to avoid that.
It's hard to find an SG in other than cherry red.
Right. There you go. So we'll make that number 3 then, and paint
it like powder blue, just to go complete opposite.
Yeah, get a '60s SG and paint it. That's the thing to do. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, powder blue, and then a little bit of a watercolor sheen on it, maybe. And
would you just say a watercolor sheen? All right.
I'm going to tap out there.
Okay. You guys remind me of 2 John Belushis, by the way. If you know who John Belushi is.
2 John Belushis.
2 John Belushis, yeah.
That's the name of the next record.
That would be a good name of the record. No kidding. I get credit for that, though. You gotta give me a credit on the back of the record.
Gary.
No liner notes.
Robbie, your five guitars, and you're more of a guitar historian, and you're a bass player. That's interesting.
Yeah, I for me, the 5 guitars are definitely the first one. I don't know why. but I've always wanted a 68 Telly. And I can't begin
because they're damn cool and they sound country.
Yeah, probably. Like I like the twang of them. That's so 68 Telly. And then the next two back to back are the Rolling Stones got their guitars. So you got Keith Richards with his his signature Telly. And
What's his name? What's his name?
𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗶𝗂.
𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗵𝗁. Yeah.
Yeah, the Keith Richards 𝗶𝗴𝗵 Telly. I love that thing. He recorded all of Exile on Main Street on that guitar.
And why does he only have 5 strings on the 6-string guitar? I've always wanted to know that. I don't know why.
I can't even begin to tell you, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with like the tuning they play in. They play in an open G or something a lot, right?
Well, Keith discovered the open G tuning right around the time they were writing, I think, the Beggar's Banquet record.
Yeah.
And it was a time when that tuning had only really been used by Elmore James and all the slide players, and wasn't really known for playing without a slide.
I'm sending you $100 because you said Elmore James. I mean, that blows my mind. How old are you, by the way?
Say what?
How old are you?
How old are you?
30.
30, and you know who Elmore James is. I mean, you get kudos and money for that. So, what song did the Allman Brothers play that Elmore James wrote?
The Allman Brothers. Wasn't Dust My Broom, was it?
No, they didn't play Just My Broom. And that's Robert Johnson, by the way. No, you're right. It's Elmore James. You're 100% right. I always get that confused. Anyways, it was Stormy Monday.
Okay. I'm not as much of.
And by the way, I'm wrong again. It was T-Bone Walker, not Elmore James. So you really got me going 2 ways from Saturday. Robbie, or both of you tell me the genius behind the logo and the name, the Jive.
You want me to tackle this?
Go ahead, brother.
Oh, both of you, either one of you.
So here's the thing with the logo and the Jive. The logo was made by a buddy of mine named Paulino. He plays in a Brazilian band called Flanders 72. Great guy, awesome guy. Awesome band too. Anyway, he made our logo for us, and I wanted something that when you hear it, you think one thing, but then when you listen to what we're putting out, you completely lost all thought of what you thought it was, if that makes sense.
You lose reality, in other words.
Yeah, I wanted a name that, when someone hears it, they're going to think, oh, they're playing 50s like Elvis-y rock and roll. And
bebop or something.
Right. And then we put out a song that's, like should have known better. And it's like, I don't know what they're going to do next. That's what I want. I want people that are never going to know what we're going to do next.
So no pigeonholing the Jive. You float across genres like a butterfly.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Liking bands like in our bio, how it says, liking bands of the garage scene like the Sonics and, the Kingsmen and like all those kinds of bands, the Animals. And then you have guys like the Rolling Stones, the Who, and Cheap Trick. All these bands have one great thing in common. None of them fit any, hole perfectly.
Any single genre.
Yeah, they were all square pegs and round holes. None of them were once, like cookie cutter. And that's what makes bands great. You know,
And
I'm
that,
sick and tired of
and
hearing.
isn't that what record companies hate?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And it's frustrating because you really got to think, you know, it's been a long while since, you know, you've heard a band like Queen come out. A that kind of dances over genres. And all the bands that dance over genres today are the ones that have been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years.
Mm.
Right. Yeah, I agree
There's
with
no
you.
new there's no new bands, at least none that I know. If you know any, you know, send them over, whoever's listening. But there's no new bands that I know of that really does the genre dancing thing and stays true to it.
King Gizzard. That's a wild one though.
King Gizzard, but that's also not new.
Hey guys,
It's been around
I
a while. That's true.
Yeah.
I do the blues, and I've got an EDM album, believe it or not, with a woman singing. So I'm with you. I don't want to be pegged as just a blues player. So I hear you.
Yeah, so that was really, you know, the business behind the name. I wanted people to hear the name and think that it's going to be pigeonholed and then listen to the music and it's like, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was at all.
Um, the two of you tell me, uh, what does it mean to you to get a song #1 on Radio Alliance Top 100? #1 song. I got up to #6 at one point, but never have I been at #1. So tell me a little bit about the process and how you feel about it, what it's doing for you.
So, Mark Platt has been an absolute, you know, gem, a great word, absolute gem in the Jive camp.
If you make his head too big, I won't be able to deal with him. So easy there.
We will.
He's been a great asset in the Jive camp. You know, it's one of those things where I actually only knew Mark for the past 2 to 3 weeks. I reached out to him out on a limb. I was on Facebook one day and I was just like, how can I get my music heard? How can I submit music? All this stuff. And I saw the Radio Indie, you know, Alliance.
Radio Candy Media.
Yes, but I saw Radio Indie Alliance,
and then you saw
page.
him. Okay.
And then when I went to that page, it was like, here's all the emails of the people that, you know, are involved with us. And one of them was Mark Platt. So I listened to some of the stuff on Radio Candy and Radio Candy Media, and I'm like, oh yeah, this fits exactly what I'm trying to get across. I sent him a message out on a whim, and, you know, lo and behold, he got back to me. I wasn't really expecting anything to come out of it, but you know, fast forward about 3 days after that, and we're playing on over 100 different radio stations worldwide, both college and FM. So it's been great.
A good job, Robbie.
Mark is what was that? Joey, what did you say?
Oh no, yeah, he's made all the moves thus far. So
so is Robbie the enterprising one of the two, and Joey is the musician of the two?
I mean, it's not quite that perfect all the time, but that's kind of where we fall usually. Yeah.
Well, it's good to be synergistic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So Robbie, Dad was a bass player. You're a bass player. What are the chances?
So there's a lead off story to that too. I actually, you know, growing up as a kid, I was watching the Shredders, like I said, and the hair metal videos, and like the guys like Gary Moore and like Scott Gorham, like all the guys from the Thin Lizzy camp. And I'm like, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. And so I started playing the guitar. And my father, you know, he took me to a pawn shop, bought me my first guitar. It was a Harmony. It was like a 70s Harmony. I'm so mad that I gave it up. But, you know, it was a Harmony guitar from pawn shop. with like 100 watt, combo amp that we got.
Wow.
And I started, I'm sorry.
I just said wow because that's loud. That's loud.
Yeah. And I started just, playing with that for a while, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't very good. So it's one of those things where my dad came up to me, as a man. I'm
and he said, "Hey, son, single notes are better."
Well, he goes,
screw this chord stuff.
Well, I remember exactly how it happened. I was probably around 12, 13 years old at this point. No, I'd say I was 14. I was 14 years old when I first really started getting into music. And my dad came up to me and he's like, "Hey, I know you really want to play guitar, but I'm going to tell you now that, I'm watching you, and it's a lot harder to learn than, me just showing you some stuff that I already know on the bass." He's like, "And guitar players are a dime a dozen."
And
he's
every band needs a bass player. Absolutely.
Exactly. He said, every band needs a bassist. He's like, "I think you should pick up bass." And I said, "Okay, let's go with a bass."
If you check out my show, you've got to check out my bass player, Andy Evans. Long beard, but holds the bottom down like nobody's business. I mean, he's super good. But anyways, keep going.
Yeah, but that was his exact word. He said, "And every band needs a bass player." So I was like, "Okay, cool. I'm going to go learn bass now." So I learned bass, and I started with bass because I originally thought it was a super boring instrument. I now know how wrong that was. But I thought it was very boring because, I started with bands like Blink-182 and like pop punk bands from like the 90s, being 29. Being 29 years old, that's what I, was around in a cultural setting,
right,
as part of my environment. But since then, I've learned, you have guys like Paul McCartney that exist. And you have all the great Motown guys. It's like, wow, bass isn't boring at all.
How about Fly for the Chili Peppers? How's he rate?
Flea.
Fly.
Yeah,
I mean, Flea. Flea. What's the difference? It's an insect.
Flea is great. The one bassist that really got me thinking, like, I can have a lot of fun here, and you already know the answer, was Matt Freeman from Rancid. Okay. I was listening to Rancid records. I was a little punk kid growing up, and I was like, "This is awesome. I want to do this." And I would just play along with Rancid records, and that's how I learned bass, or learned what notes sound
I got to
like.
tell you, in my opinion, picking things off of vinyl or CD, but preferably vinyl, is one, so you can stop it and move it back, stop it, move it back. If you could learn off of a record, you got music whipped. We're going to have to take a break here. Keep your thought. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
No more letters, yeah, it seems that you moved on. And I knew that we were through, I wasn't getting close to you. Now all is said and done. It's been a long, long time. I hope you're doing fine. It seems you're out of town anytime I come around, and I don't get a postcard. I've been thinking to myself, you could have found somebody else. I know it couldn't be so hard. It's been a long, long time. I hope you're doing fine. You're running through my mind. I wish that I had never watched you go, and I should have known better than to take it slow. I read every letter and still do to this day. I should have known better than to ever push you away.
back with the Jive, Robbie and Joey. We were talking about bassists, and I don't know how we got off that because we're all guitar players around here. But like we said, every band needs a bass player. There's just not enough of them, and there's certainly not enough good ones. So, Robbie, if you're a good bass player, you can come in and sub for Andy anytime.
Sounds good.
So tell me what your musical aspirations are as a partnership.
Well, as far as songwriting, we intend to obviously take the Jive as far as we can.
Yes.
That's our main focus right now, but we're also not opposed to, if we have, because actually we've done this before. If we have songs lying around that either don't fit a record or we thought were a little subpar, we want to give it to another band. They like it more than us.
Yep.
That's something we're open to doing.
Do you guys know what sync licensing is?
Yes, I have us signed up on ASCAP for sync licensing right now.
How's that going?
It's going pretty good. It's just one of those things. It's a long process.
Mhm.
I'm actually taking a course right now called Art of the Song Pitch, where we literally get to pitch our music. As a matter of fact, I got a pitch coming up tomorrow to a honest to God music supervisor who's like his credits are NCIS and it goes on and on and on and on. And I get to submit a song to him, talk to him about my song, tell him about my music background and how we do our music, and that I'm a one-stop shop, which is really important for you guys. Whatever you do, own the masters to your music so you can be a one-stop shop and you can make the decision. As soon as a music supervisor reaches out to you and says, hey, I like your song, I want it on my TV show, you could say done.
Yeah.
So one of you got to take the lead, one of you.
Of course. And yeah, we were talking about this before as well, to have our songs used in, given the sound at the moment, would probably be geared more towards comedy genre. But some Netflix original movie that, is still in development, but somebody might want a song that sounds like Good Time Call in the opening credits.
Yeah.
That would be,
that'd be awesome.
Really big for us.
That'd be huge.
Well, when we're done with this, I will tell you some of the secrets of how to actually find the right people. Let me see here. I'm going to refer to my favorite Word document and work. Joey, you're at Wawa, right?
Yeah, I still work not day job, but really it's the night shift.
And
at
tell
the
me,
local Wawa.
how's a night shift and music work? I don't understand that.
Well, you just got to find your nights off to gig, right? But
they're very lenient with you, though.
They're lenient with me, and I put in all the dates I need.
Yeah,
so I get to control my schedule with them. But hey, it's not a bad place to work when you got to put bread on the table and you're not big yet.
Do you get health insurance?
I work full time, so I do get health insurance. It covers
that is fantastic.
Checkups.
In this
it covers
world,
checkups
that is
and
fantastic.
Dental.
Yeah. Okay.
Good benefits.
And Robbie, you work at independent pressing.
Independent record pressing.
Yeah. So you actually are involved with making vinyl.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I've been there for about 2 years, or actually, I don't even want to say about. I've been there for over 2 years, past April. Yeah. So I started in April of 2023. So
Is
it's been
their business growing?
yes, absolutely. Business is growing all the time. They have sales teams and street teams and stuff like that, trying to get the word out in all over New York and Los Angeles and like stuff like that. Right now we have acceleration music, some stuff for A to Z music. These are all labels. Traffic, Get On Down Records, I think it is. Like there's a bunch of different stuff that we press, which is really cool for me because I get to discover stuff that, I may not have known otherwise.
Wow. So you actually get to sample the product.
Oh yeah.
Like a drug dealer. Yeah, I didn't mean that. I was just kidding. I'm in the red, guys, on my microphone, so I got to turn it down a little bit. Let's take the last few minutes of our call and talk about the music industry as you see it today. And I already know that you are contrarians and don't want to be pegged in any hole. But, how do you see getting to where your goal is, which I think your goal is your music supports your music or supports you and your music. And you would be fine with that. But how do you see yourself getting there in today's music scene?
Well, the internet age, in my personal view at least, makes it easier for a band like us to connect to, the kinds of people we want to connect to and who we feel like will understand us. Not having to, be thirsty for a label's attention, or especially of a major label,
Absolutely.
You're talking about labels. Your label is 𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵𝗁 Records.
𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵 will be putting out the CD for
extended
the
play
Jive
or extended play. Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's
when
what
will
we
that
know they're doing for us.
When is that going to hit?
That's not even announced yet, actually, but it will be announced at some point in the summer. So I would only assume it hits in the fall. There's no real release date for physical yet, but the wheels are in motion.
And explain what you mean by physical, because I don't think many of my listeners have heard that term.
Physical media, just, 𝗶𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗵's case, it's going to be CDs, but physical media could be cassettes, CDs, vinyl records, anything that you tangible, that you can hold and say, this is mine.
Hey, Robbie, what do you think the hottest medium is right now?
It pains me to say it, but I think it's streaming. However,
all right, you brought it up. What do you guys think about Spotify? You can say it. You won't get sued.
I'll be honest, it's a blessing and a curse. Spotify, really the distribution companies, like you have the distro companies like DistroKid, CD Baby, stuff like that. It's really one of those things where it's like, if it wasn't for them, the Jive wouldn't be on these streaming services. So it's really more so, like I said, a blessing more than a curse. Just the amount of stuff that you hear about streaming numbers and pay compared to streaming numbers and stuff like that, it comes down to like they kind of have you,
right,
in a chokehold, and you can't really, do anything about it. That's where physical media comes into play. Like, when you're on tour, when you're at a show, people always love to see vinyl. And it's been that way for the past couple of years. People would show up to the table like, no way, you guys have vinyl, or throughout all of our projects. It's like, no way, you guys have vinyl, or you guys have CD. Like, they love physical, tangible things that they can hold, but I don't know.
Touch.
Yeah, but I don't know how many of those people will put the vinyl on compared to just going on their phone like, oh, I like the Jive. I'm going to go on Spotify and, play them while I clean the house or do something like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to putting the record on the player.
Yeah. You got to have the player. I mean, and that's no cheap thing anymore. Um, I got to imagine a good phonograph setup right now would set you back a couple grand.
Oh, yeah. A real good one. Yeah. Like you can get not good ones for like around 100, $200, but
Oh,
a real good,
seriously.
yeah, but a real good phonograph would be anywhere from like 600 to I've seen them go to $3,000.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting into DJ equipment cost area with that. We're going to have to take a 2-minute break. We'll be right back. By the way, what do you guys think about DJs?
Well,
It can be fun.
yeah, they can be fun for sure.
They're good. They're good if they play your music, right?
There you go.
They good if I like it. Let's put it that way.
Here in Park City, the DJs are the death knell to live bands. So it's really, fortunately, I don't play bars anymore. But when I was going back 2-3 years, I was getting squeezed by the DJs, definitely.
See, now over here on this side of the country, it's cover bands. It's cover bands and tribute bands. Anytime someone's going out to a live show on like the east side, mainly in our area of like the greater Philadelphia area, they're going to see, the Rolling Stoned, the all high Rolling Stones tribute act. Like,
or the Creedence Clearwater tribute band.
Yeah, no one's going to see original music, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if.
Well, I got to tell you something. My experience is it's just harder to get people out today.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Just, period. It's harder. Let me watch one of my podcasts with a guy named David Bash. He's got International Overthrow Pop Festival. And I don't know if
International
you
Pop
guys,
Overthrow.
the
Yes.
International
Yeah.
Pop Overthrow. I don't know if you guys would be a good fit for him, but I would be glad to introduce you. He did a interview with me on YouTube about 4 or 5 months ago, and
I would
he's an
assume we'd be good
interesting
for him.
cat. But you know, his tour plays at places like the Cavern where the Beatles came up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
so
assume we would be a good fit for him.
I mean,
What is
I've
that?
listened to some of their
International Pop Overthrow. That's material issue callback, ain't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I've listened to some of those compilations too, and
yeah, oh yeah,
they
oh
sound
yeah.
pretty good to me.
He does that after every season. So
Mhm.
if you want me to put you in touch with him, I'll be glad to do that.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
We have got 6 minutes left. I would normally take time out for a music break, but what do you guys, anything you want to talk about for the last 6 minutes, you call it.
Go ahead, Joey.
Oh, you're gonna throw it to me now?
What you got?
Hmm. Well, Gary, I'm meeting you for the first time. Um, shall we interview you for 6 minutes? Is that something you'd be?
Well,
you certainly can.
You certainly can. You can also mention how we'll be back in the studio early next year.
Okay. Yeah, we should plug a bit too.
Yeah, I
I
think that's the better call.
How we'll have merchandise very shortly. We'll have T-shirts out and stuff like that.
There you go. So
so you know, T-shirts Printful. You know about Printful, right?
Printful. I know.
Yeah. Well, Printful is a T-shirt manufacturer, printer, and you print one shirt at a time. You don't have to hold inventory.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like
the
Shopify.
cost, yeah. Well, it's a lot like Shopify, only Printful.
Or Printify,
Shopify,
rather.
Printify, yeah, but Printful is the place to go, and because their prices are very close to, if you were to print 500 T-shirts, that's the price it is to print one T-shirt. So I told you something you didn't know.
There you go.
thank you. Yeah, we got shirts on the way.
Shirts on the way. New
Vinyl,
music.
vinyl,
definitely. Me being in a pressing plant, of course.
You can expect some good deals on that, everybody listening.
Yeah.
So get excited.
Well, I got to get vinyl. So you're going to get me a deal with vinyl?
Yeah.
You better believe it.
All right. Hey, Robbie, you need to lean a little bit to your left. You're going off frame. There you go. Got to get your beautiful face framed in the picture. Yeah, that's real buddies.
What'd you do? Oh, shit.
Anyways, I want to thank you guys very, very much for coming on my show. Love your #1 song. I got to listen to some more. So email me a link to your Spotify playlist if you would. And or I'll just look you up. I could do that. And I want to stay in touch with you to follow your career as you guys move along.
Yeah, we actually do have another song that will be dropping throughout the Radio Indie Music Alliance after this current campaign for Shoulda Known Better is done. That's a song that's out right now for those of you listening. We have another song we're going to drop a campaign for. That one's called Heart of Gold. And right now it's available everywhere. Spotify, any streaming service you use, whatever. Go check it out. That's another great one. A little bit of a glam rock backbeat. So we're really excited to start the campaign for that one in the coming weeks.
Fantastic. God, I had something in my mind, and at my age, things go from my mind out my ear. And I had this great question. Oh, what was it? I can't remember. Last 3 minutes. What do you want to talk about?
Okay. Let's see.
Well, what else do we need to plug? We got shirts. We got new music on the way.
Social
Oh,
media.
that's what I was going to ask you. So when you play shows, you have a merch table.
Yes.
Sure do.
That is so with it. I can't tell you. I mean, I still haven't had my first merch table at a show. Of course, I'm doing live streams now, so it's one big merch table. But when I was out playing the bar scene, I didn't have a merch table.
No, we actually got everything, not everything, I'll say about 80% of stuff that we need first before releasing any music, and we just really wanted to have that. Like, we have a whole blueprint of a merch setup and everything that we're getting for merchandise and where it's going to go on the table and how big our table is compared to venue size. Like, I had that all mapped out for us that way that there's never an issue as like, oh, we only have this, amount of space. What are we going to put on the table? I make sure I know all that before we even get there.
That's really astute.
That's about the only astute thing I do.
How to run the table before and after the show, things like that.
Yeah.
Do you guys have someone to man your merch table, or do you do it yourselves in between sets or after shows, before shows?
It really depends on the show.
On the gig.
Yeah, it really depends on the show and who's attending. If we have someone that we trust, we'll obviously throw them behind the merch table if they're cool with it. And, we won't be rude about it. It's one of those things like, hey, man, we're coming to the show tonight. And I'll be like, you guys want to run the merch table? I'll get you in for free.
Uh-huh.
There you go.
like I said earlier, very enterprising. I predict these two cats are going somewhere because between the two of them, they got it all. And you're looking for a second guitar player?
Either a second guitar player or a bass player, and I can play rhythm. It's all the same thing anyway.
Because I was going to ask if I could do it. All right, man. Yeah, well, thank you. All right, that's the Gary Dranow Show for today. This was the Jive. Check them out on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music. You name it, they're on it. And their number one song is, again,
Should Have Known Better.
Should Have Known Better, and I've heard it. It is great. Give it a listen. Okay, guys, thanks for being on the show. See you later.
Gary, you're the best. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome.